And now it's time for Coffee Talk. Where were you, Matt?
Oh, let's try it again.
Okay. I'm kidding.
You'll get us on the way out.
Yeah, you get another shot. A very special coffee talk brought to you by EFB. Thank you, Electric Fountain Brewing here in Quincy. Lots to offer, and who doesn't need coffee? We all need it. The holidays are here. We're struggling.
We're getting by, but as you're watching this, it should be Christmas Eve, so hopefully you have everything done and everything ready to go. I don't really know.
I was just gonna say, man, that's a high bar. And we host, so yeah. I'm on the edge. I need something to take the edge off.
Well, speaking of high bar.
Yeah, right. High bar and taking the edge off. So Matt Anderson is here with SunMed to talk about not only all the things that you can help to kind of step us back from that ledge, but about changes that are coming or that have taken place, right?
Matt is here to help clear the air about some confusion that's going on. I know we recently published a story in regards to President Trump's change with the cannabis laws, and then there's recent recalls on hemp laws. There's a difference between cannabis and hemp, but not so much. So he's here to explain it all.
Let's do it. Let's get down to it.
So let's talk about the law, because I don't know what that was or what it is or what changes are coming our way. Can you tell me about that?
So let's just take a look at the timeline. We'll briefly shoot back to 2018 and then fast forward to about the last 5 months or so. So back in 2018, Congress passed what's known as the Farm Bill of 2018. It was the largest piece of agricultural legislation that our country had seen for some time, and within that was there were several paragraphs, a portion of it, I should say, dedicated to creating what's called the industrial hemp industry. And that controls everything for hemp that is used in rope and clothing, all the way up to consumable products, what most people use as far as CBD products.
Okay.
There's also a cannabinoid called CBN and CBG and all these different compounds produced by the cannabis plant. So as Brittany, you said, there's a difference legally between hemp and marijuana. Mm-hmm. Those are kind of the two basic categories that we put cannabis into. And shoot back to late September of this year, Trump made a social media post that had a video attached to it as well, where he made the claim that CBD could be CBD covered by Medicare could be the greatest senior initiative of the century, basically. Okay. So that kind of sparked some interest because we haven't heard much from this administration on cannabis law over the first year. And so shoot forward to the government shutdown. Mm-hmm. It was a difficult time for many Americans, many people locally, and whether you looked at one side on how terrible it was to reopen the government with the provisions that had to be agreed to, or the other side that for a while was, kind of pushing it as a clean bill. Within that, Senator Mitch McConnell actually put in a provision that redefines what hemp is. And it was kind of thrown in with a lot of stuff as far as WIC and SNAP and all the issues that we heard about into something it didn't really belong in. They got it snuck into the FDA Department of Ag minibus, which was a full year spending bill that they signed off on and that the president has now signed. But where hemp was previously thought to be basically cannabis that contains under 0.3% THC. Mm-hmm. As of November 11th of this upcoming year, maybe the 12th, I might have a day off there.
We'll forgive you. Yeah.
It redefined hemp to be cannabis that contains less than 0.4 milligrams per package, which might not sound like a whole lot, but it is a pretty substantial difference. Because, for example, 90% of the products we sell, I'd say 95% or more of the products that we sell won't cause any sort of euphoria, as I call it. Some people refer to it as the high from marijuana. Sure. But yeah, most of the products won't cause that effect, but having a trace amount of THC in those formulas produces in the plant what's called, or within the body, what's called entourage effects. So the different molecules help each other out, prop each other up, can slightly change each other's effect next time. So it eliminates several non-intoxicating formulas as well that through most of our customers, those that don't have to worry about drug testing or anything like that, can prove to be a little bit more beneficial because that THC then, in a tiny, tiny trace amount, so consider it to be like a non-alcoholic beer,
Right.
Might have like less than 0.5% in those. We're at, less than 0.3 on these. So, but it definitely does cause an impact to the formulation. So, that happened when they signed that off. Basically, we were put on a 1-year time clock before about 90% plus of our products would be wiped off our shelves.
I was going to ask, so what does that mean for you? Is it more or less than what you're offering, and what does it look like in your products?
90% of our products, all of our products that are hemp derived contain less than that 0.3%
Gotcha.
THC.
Okay.
What we're more talking about is those non-intoxicating formulas that are going to be affected.
Okay.
It ends up wiping out, I'd say, probably over 90% of the consumable hemp market across the U.S. We're talking about 250,000 jobs across the country.
Yeah.
At last check, I think it was 46% of seniors in the U.S. currently admit to using hemp-derived cannabinoid products for their therapeutic in different illnesses, therapeutic use in different illnesses. So, we had that change happen about 45 days after President Trump made his announcement. And then fast forward to, I think, 5 days ago now, President Trump just signed an executive order basically reclassifying marijuana from from Schedule 1, which falls into a category with drugs like heroin, LSD, ecstasy, peyote,
Fentanyl,
drugs that have no accepted medical use.
Okay.
So that change was made down to Schedule 3. So Schedule 3 is your Tylenol with codeine, some like anabolic steroids, drugs like that. So ones that are, commonly used throughout
to treat
medicine.
some kind of side effects, or sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's a big change as far as research goes. It doesn't do anything currently for consumer use, anything like that. You still can't take marijuana across state lines.
Right. You can't consume
cannabis
it publicly.
businesses are still having problems with banking. But what it does is it allows the government to conduct more research on the actual medical benefits and acknowledges that there are medical benefits to cannabis.
So then the thing that was signed in with the percentage, is that still in effect?
It is. President Trump, when he reopened the government, signed that into law. However, there is speculation. I haven't read it all the way through as far as the executive order yet, but supposedly there may be some sort of moratorium which would extend that deadline, basically allow more sensible regulation, consumer safety measures to be put in place, which businesses like mine, several of my other friends within the industry in town, we've always, even though it hasn't been kind of held over us, as the government, as far as what sort of, consumer health and safety regulation we need to have in place, we've always 21 plus age gated. We've got standardized packaging. All of our products are third-party lab tested, so that we send them off to a third-party laboratory, and they not only test them for potencies and contents, but also contaminants. So we test for residual fertilizers and other agricultural agents, solvents, heavy metals, mycotoxins, bacterias, all the things that you would expect not to be in,
running the gamut on the test.
Exactly.
Where do you conduct these tests? Or
so we have a couple different labs that our company specifically works with. They're labs that many of the marijuana cultivators use as well. So we're using labs that are on the same par with what they're required to use. But I know like ACT Labs is one that we've used in the past. Like I said, there's several of these around.
But just a third party to kind of help verify and make sure that the safety standards are being met. So go ahead.
Okay, so what I'm gathering with this too, it sounds like to me that the government is kind of, obviously taking control of this. They wanted control in the first place. The the new Trump order is going to help, you said, do research and stuff like that, but it also it benefits legal dispensaries too, correct? Or
I've looked into the dispensary impact a little bit. Immediately, just as I said, there's not going to be any like major customer changes in legal versus illegal states, and I have seen that because if you think of your Tylenol with codeines and medications of that caliber, they have to be dispensed by a pharmacy. So they're wondering whether they're going to have to become pharmacies when it does finally hit the consumer side of the equation. So there are a lot of unknowns. It's just one of those things where if you are interested in more natural alternatives to some medications, and obviously I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to tell you to stop taking your medication.
I am. I'm kidding.
Just kidding. It is going to be something where just kind of keep it in the forefront of what you're looking up when you're searching the internet on
so this
social media.
hemp bill, though, that's not benefiting our small dispensaries. When I say small dispensaries, I mean people like you that are doing it. You're using hemp products, not full-blown THC products.
We do have some formulas that are ratioed. So like our 2-to-1 formula has 16 milligrams of CBD and 8 milligrams of THC. So we do have some of those products which may cause some slight euphoria.
But that's what they're trying to take
We're not
away?
selling dabs and, and trying to compete
Deltas
with
and all to
compete with the dispensaries.
But that's what they're trying to take away from you, right?
Yeah, those would be the sort of product. Not only that, but just like our normal CBD
CBDs.
Tincture, because they do have that trace amount, which, for example, most of our products are anywhere between 50 to we'll say not $300, 50 to about $180 on average, as far as having a couple months supply out of one container. So we may have a tincture that, and these are very, very rough numbers, but the entire bottle may cost $150, right? And it may have 12 milligrams of THC in that entire bottle. I haven't met anybody going to the dispensary or anywhere else that's going to feel threatened having to pay $150 for 12 milligrams of THC.
And all natural. So when we're talking about alternate medicine or treatments, I guess, to treat some side effects, synthetic versus dollar amount. There, I feel like I know some people need the prescription, the pharmaceutical, but it's a good trade-off, right?
When we're talking about, just to kind of put it in a little bit better perspective, so when we're talking about that bottle that contains 12 milligrams of total THC, it might have approximately 5,400 milligrams of CBD. So when we're looking at that relativity per dose, that ratio, I mean, it's they're what would be. And what will be, I think, when we see how this regulation kind of rolls out and affects things, considered to be therapeutic products in 30-day following 30-day supplemental frameworks. Anything you'd expect out of your 30-day supply of a protein shake, anything like that.
Has the government always had their hands in this, or is it relatively new that they're kind of regulating and putting some kibosh on stuff?
Well, when we look at major marijuana policy shifts, the last major shift we had was when it was taken to Schedule I, and don't quote me, I think it was in the early 70s.
Okay.
We're looking at 50 some odd-ish years where we've seen any major policy changes. I'd say before this, the last week or so, when we're looking at those major policy shifts in any way related cannabis, we'd have to go back to the Farm Bill of 2018. Even then, with any industry, even the ones like the actors like us that are trying to benefit our communities, help our fellow community members, there are bad actors out of there. And whether you look at articles that our governor's done when Illinois has been looking over the last 18 months to 2 years of making changes. They always grab a pack of Cheetos that's got 700 milligrams of Delta 8. We don't sell any products like that, but there are people that are selling products that can target children, just because of bright, colorful packaging.
Speaking of bright packaging, those drinks. So we sell them in the bar. I think a couple other bars sell them. they're like what you mentioned before, the Delta drinks. There's Delta drinks. There's just a market, all kinds of them. You can pick them up at the liquor store now. Are those are technically going to be illegal, right?
And yes, as depending if the current way the law is written from here about a month ago stays intact.
Who slid that in there again?
That was Senator Mitch McConnell.
So the little the
Mitch.
slide in. Speaking of that slide in, I feel like a lot of lawmakers wanted this to happen. And Matt and I were talking about this before. So maybe in the Farm Bill 2018, some of the legislators might not have realized what they were legalizing when it came to hemp. They didn't think that hemp could get you high, but with certain evolution and adding different chemicals, I guess, to it, it happened, and now you can get, I guess, buzzes off of these things.
And you don't even have to add chemicals. I mean, there's certified natural processes with pressure, heat, light, the things that.
So adding science,
exactly.
to it.
Science.
Yeah, there's definitely a difference between synthetic and synthesized.
So it's like, they slid that under and didn't know, and now we're sliding this under. And like you were saying, I don't think a lot of people knew that was one of the things with the shutdown to make, the shutdown stop from happening.
Yeah.
So
I mean, just a couple weeks ago, Target announced that they were going to start carrying hemp-derived THC beverages. So there's definitely, I think somewhere the market is currently around, it'll be about $35 billion impact.
Yeah.
But yet they're still scheduled to take that away November 2026.
Yes.
Unless something changes.
You think there would be a better way to kind of control the bad apples versus the people who are trying to do it the right way? Versus painting everybody with a broad brush.
So many milligrams, like it's something like that.
Yeah, so many milligrams, but I think the government, you always have a way of putting things up.
A lot of those things are what we've been have been advocating for the last 7 years, which is standardized labeling and packaging requirements, minimum lab testing standards, limit access, age gating, 21 plus. So there are ways to, make sure we're adding responsible regulation and keeping, our next door neighbors safe while at the same time not killing 250.
Isn't it funny that they're focusing on this and not the
Other
epidemic of fentanyl and opioids? And, it's like, okay, so about how much money do we have to have this earned, government, before you kind of let us do our thing, right? Because there's so much more out there that I think we could probably tackle. Obviously, it's harder to regulate, but it seems like this is not the place to start.
These laws, though, seem to be benefiting the legal dispensaries, the big timers, the things where you can get stoned out of your gordita, and then you're taking away the small business where it's supposed to be less than 0.3%.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you want us to fry our balls instead of, regulate our bodies through potential medicinal usage.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
But their hand is in this because they can make more money off of this with the taxes. This is small business, and I know that they can still make money off of small business, but I don't know if the tax regulation is the same. Maybe you can answer that for me.
As far as our store, we charge normal sales tax, 7% sales
there you
tax.
go. So they're getting sales tax instead of their weed tax.
Yeah.
And that changes with different states. I think Illinois is somewhere in the 30% range. I think Missouri's is somewhere in the 5% range. It is illegal to, go to Missouri and transfer your
cross the line.
Can't cross the border.
Can't cross the border.
Even within the industry, we separate. I separate what's known as MSOs, multi-state operators, from even the craft dispensaries, the social equity licenses, throughout even our state of Illinois here, because there's definitely a very, very select few that this current legislation, the way everything has been rolled out and written, benefit. Now, I'm still positive that there's time to, talk to those legislators, Mary Miller's, local representative.
for
He
sure.
came by, had a conversation with us to kind of learn and understand what the impact's going to be. I know Representative Moore has had conversations with us in the past in regards to different state policies that they were looking to put in place. So we do have receptive legislators here
Sure.
that represent us. Like I said, I'm faithful. I'm hopeful.
Yeah.
Me too.
So
Mitch McConnell just needs to get high off of
no doubt.
like less.
You need
weed.
something.
Yeah, CBD. Don't
yeah.
lose the THC.
But so if people wanted to make an impact here, they could call their local legislator. Is that
Definitely
correct?
call your local
Okay.
legislators. You can give us a call. We
Okay.
can kind of go
Guide
into the
you.
weeds a little bit more as far as your individual impacts if you are a consumer, if
Sure.
you're looking to use some of these sort of products. Like I said, most of the products that we're talking about as far as how we're going to be affected are all non-intoxicating products.
Okay.
So, we'd love to be a part of that conversation. for
Yeah,
anybody.
learn a little bit. I think, knowledge is power. And if you don't know, you can get a hold of Matt. Obviously, you have different products, CBD, CBN. You mentioned tincture. I don't know what any of that is, but I know that you have a variety of creams and gummies. And, so there's something there for everybody, depending on what you're looking for, right?
Most definitely. And,
Yeah.
and us personally, being a plant science company, and as we've developed over the last 7 years, we've gone outside of hemp-derived cannabinoid products as well. So
Okay.
we've got kava, which is a plant root from like Fiji, Hawaii area. We've got shilajit, which comes from the Himalayan mountains. It's rich in like
That's what
80
you were
plus
talking
trace
about.
minerals and fulvic
Yeah.
acid. We've got super greens.
She
we've
legit.
got-
quit,
Yep.
yeah.
She legit to quit.
Yep,
Yeah.
we've got mushrooms, we've got super greens,
Okay.
we've got libido
Ashwagandha.
boosts.
Yeah, ashwagandha.
We don't have ashwagandha, but we've got several products that are right up that alley.
cool.
Yeah,
So.
very cool. And I think everybody needs it, especially around the holidays, just to take the edge off or for whatever you're needing. But it's a good way to kind of help you, I don't know, feel better.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
suggest going to Matt instead of your family
Dealer.
pothead, because your family pothead might not know how to measure and then end up getting the whole family high. And I'm really sorry.
Oh,
so
I
maybe
wasn't
you should
gonna
just go to
And we're
Matt
not-
instead. But
We're not just talking about taking the edge off either. I mean, we've conducted FDA-approved human clinicals in sleep,
Yeah,
weight
sleep.
loss.
Yeah.
So the way I say it is anywhere you want to see an improvement in your quality of life, because we're looking at root causes. We're not looking at side effects.
Yeah.
Come see us. Come talk to us.
There you go.
so on Coffee Talk, Matt, we usually end our Coffee Talk with some good news brews. And the good news brews is actually sitting right next to me. SunMed has something pretty cool that you guys have to offer. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, most definitely. We actually started it in January. We've been pretty successful almost all 12 months of this year, but it's called our Gifts of Green program. So every single month, and this is a shout out to all the nonprofits out there throughout our community. You don't even have to be a nonprofit if you're a for-profit and you've just got an awesome way that you are giving back. And would like a little help getting there. Between the 20th and the end of every single month, we give a non-for-profit 3% of our sales from those days. So
Incredible.
That is pretty
Doing
awesome.
good all across the board. I hope that you are able to continue. You'll have to come back and give us an update as you learn more. But I've really, really appreciated getting a little more information on it, because I was so confused about what it meant for the industry as a whole and the different organizations that it's going to impact. So always appreciate the information.
thanks so much, and I'd be willing to come on anytime.
Yeah, love it. Well, Merry Christmas to you and the fam.
Merry Christmas to everyone.
To everyone,
miss it this time.
go check out SunMed. They got everything that you need to improve, right, in any area. So thank you. I think that does it for today's Coffee Talk.
Talk.